Hello, and welcome back to Kal Academy. We're working on a couple names here. And this will be hopefully a short video where I don't ramble for about 20 minutes, but I wanted to do a few beginner videos based off of questions that we see a lot in the Discord. And one of those videos for me has been a lot of newer players asking, what are gems? How do I get them? And what exactly do they do? And that really is a great question because gems are everything at the end of the game, assuming you live that far. So first off, we're going to start with the whole distribution system, and then we'll work in when we get closer to red here, we'll be able to show you how to trade them. So each border player, we should clarify, not red in the middle, starts with 10 gems. Now, you'll start with 9 of your own gems, and a random player will start with the one other one. And that's kind of a random incentivization to maybe team up and have a little fun. It kind of makes a little bit of a difference in the game, the way it plays out, if people pay attention to that sort of thing. Some do, some don't. Now, you'll see in the upper left here, there actually is a gem counter to count how many gems you've given each player. Of course, right now we only have red, but you know, in a standard game, you're going to see 3 more players lined up here. So you can keep track of things like this. How many you've given out to each player, and if you want to backstab later, get those back. Say, hey, I've given this guy 3 gems. He hasn't done much for me. I want a bigger portion of the pot. I'm going to go kill him. Definitely a way to keep track of it, but the one gem that gets distributed when the game starts, it actually does not show up in that counter. So you don't know, and you will not know who has that gem unless they explicitly tell you, at which case they could also still be lying. Really not much of a benefit to lying about that, but they do get a gem bonus for defense if they are holding that gem, or any of your gems for that matter. Now, trading gems is pretty easy. Actually, before we move on to that, red, like I said, each border player starts with 10. Red actually starts with, I believe it's 13. So he will start with 11 of his own, and 2 will be distributed throughout the map. Sometimes I've started at the border with 2 of reds, and then sometimes they get distributed randomly. But if you start with 2 of reds, there's a pretty good incentive to work with him. But it's also good defense against him too if you want to goad him into an attack. So that's how that is distributed before the game starts. And now we're going to connect here with red, and we can show you how the trading works. It's going to be one way because the bot doesn't actually know how to trade back, nor does he care to because he's a bot. But let's say, there's not really any of these cards that I want, but we're just going to do a mock trade. So, okay, I want his 2. I'll give him my 3 for it. And then we hit confirm. These cards will swap, and you'll also see below confirm, because I initiated this trade, he's also getting one of my gems. So that is how gems are given early game, and they are received the same way in reverse. So red would have to initiate a trade with me, and I accept it, we swap cards, and I get his gem as well. So that's a good way to establish a relationship early on, and try to go, you know, you're going to want to see who's willing to give you some of their gems, and you're going to have to invest some of yours as well, assuming you want to make allies. If you're going to be a lone wolf, by all means go for it. Makes the game a little bit harder, but it can be a little bit fun. Now this pops up here. If you win the combo reward, you do have the opportunity to mint 3 additional gems each time this happens. If you happen to win all the combo rewards, you could get yourself quite a bit of gems. But you're also adding to the stake of the game. So you are investing additional currency into the game. That also, you know, it affects the value at the end of the game as well. We're going to keep it basic for this tutorial. Again, I don't want to ramble for about an hour. But we'll get into that in maybe a more advanced gem session. So now we've covered the basics of trading. Trade them a card, they get a gem. They trade you a card, you get a gem. Now, just a quick side bit as well. When you're receiving a trade like that, you also receive 1 gold. If you're giving a trade away, that person receives a gold as well. Now, that's not coming out of your pot. It's just coming out of thin air. So it's a little added bonus to receiving a trade early on. even if I don't need the card, I'll take all the free gems and the free gold I can get so we can keep upgrading. We can keep, you know, building up our base, shoring up our defenses, making buildings, whatever it is that we want to do. So the other way to swap gems is with a level 3 capital. This used to be something that the economists handled, but we have a season 1 change, and I think it was a change for the good. So in your bottom left here, where you'll find the rest of your economist actions here, so it's kind of lumped in with them. So just be aware that this is where all of the other trade options are. It doesn't necessarily mean that the economist is going to give this middle one to you, which is the gem swap. So what that does is, if I initiate this to red, and I'm just going to play defense here. If I initiate this to red, I'm going to pay him 2 gold. He gets 1 of my gems, and I get 1 of his. It's a 1-for-1 swap. The only difference is the 2 gold. And if you have a good friendship with this person, or they want to be a good ally to you, typically they will just initiate that trade right back, and you'll get your 2 gold. You both swap 2 gems. Everybody's happy. Now, you can only do this once per round, so don't expect to be able to walk around the border colonies here and start just swapping gems with people. You're going to have to space it out. And typically, you're going to see it happen between maybe 1 or 2 people, depending on how they play. And then we'll divvy it up. So that brings us to the end of the game. What value do gems have? How do they work? And that's the most important part. So only the person who wins the game's gems actually matter in the grand scheme of things. So let's say I won. I haven't raised. I still have 10 total gems. So we're looking at, for a ranked game, the base stake is 0.005 Ethereum. So with 5 players in the game, the total pot is up to 0.025. So the math is pretty easy. The winner starts off by getting his stake back. So he gets his 0.005 back, and then the gems are distributed with the Ethereum. So now the actual pot of the game, the remaining, is 0.02 Ethereum. So now the gems are distributed based off of that value. So I have 10 gems, which means that we just divide 0.02 Ethereum by 10. And that is the value of each of my gems. So 0.002 Ethereum per gem. So if you don't have a comfortable amount of my gems in your inventory and I'm about to win the game, you either say, hey, I'm going to mess up your plans, give me more gems. I'm not here to break even. You're moving up on the leaderboard and I'm not. And then, if I want to play ball, I will play ball. If I feel like it's out of your power, I'm going to ignore you because I'm greedy. So keep that in mind when the game is approaching. Not only are you winning the game and earning actual Ethereum, but there's leaderboard standings as well. And if you're somebody who cares a lot about that, like I am, you're going to want to make sure you get paid for your contribution to this guy winning the game. And vice versa. If somebody helped you a lot, of course you could choose to backstab them. That's part of Duper. But maybe you want to be a good ally as well. That's the great thing about Duper. There's good allies, there's bad allies, and you don't know who's who until the game's about to end. And I believe that should cover the basics of gems. Again, I think these videos end up running long because I'm sitting here running. I've drank like 3 coffees this morning. But I hope this cleared up a little bit on how gems work. I mean, we went over how to trade them, how to receive them, what exactly they do. And before I sign off, there is one additional function of the gem that I almost neglected in this video. So I found out that it doesn't actually calculate in the playground. Actually, it does for me now. Did you see that gem buff? It was very quick, but it said +2. So when he's attacking me, I got +2 HP on my units. And you might wonder, why? It's because I'm holding 2 of his gems. So if somebody is making an alliance with you and they're giving you gems, it's going to be very hard for them to backstab you because it's harder for them to attack you. This only works on defense. Offense does not work with the gems. So he's giving me 2. If he had 10 troops here and he attacks me, assuming we don't, our tile bonuses are even, so we're looking at 11 versus 11 at that point. But because of my gem bonus, I hold 2 of his gems. It will actually be up to 13. and it's harder for him to come after me that way. So you can distribute your gems in a way that also makes sense defensively. And that's another way to play the game. Makes backstabbing a little harder, but backstabbing can be very useful when you want the whole pot, because if he kills my capital, he gets these 2 gems back. All of my gold, he gets to pick a couple cards. It's a whole thing. So keep that in mind as well. Like, man, I gave this guy all my gems early, hoping he'd be a good ally, and really he didn't do too much for me, and I've decided that I want all of the money. And then it's a little bit harder, but perhaps there's an opening and you go kill this guy. Not stoking any fires in the casual leaderboards here, and definitely not in ranked. Please don't do this to me. But also, have a great day.